Doom 2016 came out and totally revitalized not just the Doom series, but first-person shooters in general. A wonderful return to the classic boomer shooter feel, but with a lot more intensity and engaging gameplay. Doom Eternal iterated on that format, almost turning it into a puzzle game where you had to make sure that you were using the right guns for the right enemies and juggling your resources while jumping around the map fighting off hordes of demons. Doom the Dark Ages took a different approach, giving the Doom Slayer a shield and opting for more slow, methodical gameplay, and I think that was a mistake. Let's talk about why. You know what isn't a mistake though? Liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribing to the channel. At its core, I do still think we have a pretty competent shooter here with Doom the Dark Ages. I just don't think it should have been called Doom. They've spent 2 games sort of building up the Doom Slayer as this unstoppable, ferocious force. And in this game, by giving him a shield, by slowing down the combat, it just feels so antithetical to the already established character and established vibe of the series that I think it was just a huge miss in general. Regardless of how it worked out, regardless of gameplay, I just think from a theoretical perspective, this was not the move. And then on top of that, I don't think it was that well executed either. So the big focus in this game's combat is the shield. Doom Guy gets a shield, and you can now parry and block attacks. This also brings a higher emphasis on melee. The general flow of combat is that when you're fighting the bigger demons, you're waiting for them to fire a green bullet at you that you can deflect. When you deflect it, you might stun them for a little bit, and then you can get 1 or 2 melee attacks in before having to fall back. And you really do only get 1 or 2 attacks. These guys recover from stun so quickly. Sometimes it felt like I would stun them, shield charge in, and before I even landed my melee attack, they were already unstunned and hitting me. It felt really janky. There were times where I did parry the shot, but still took damage, but then the enemy was still stunned and I was able to go in. So there's actually a lot of friction in the gameplay because you want to be aggressive. You've been trained to be aggressive by the last 2 Doom games, but then this game is forcing you to not be aggressive, to sort of hang back, to wait for these attacks. To compensate for this, there are a lot of fodder demons, essentially, that they will throw in. There's just tons and tons of demons in this game to fight. But they're mostly trivial to get rid of. A single shield charge or melee attack has AoE around it and will usually clear out pretty big mobs in one single hit. That doesn't mean you can just ignore them, though, because these demons do also do a lot of damage if they land a hit on you. So you do have to be aware of your surroundings. You cannot just totally stay still. I see what they were going for with this. Wait for the big demon to do its attack, and while you're doing that, you clear out some of the fodder demons, then focus fire back on the big guy. But it just never really clicked for me. The guns themselves don't even feel that unique or specific. Now, you could argue about Eternal almost going too far in that direction, where you really needed to be using the specific gun for each specific demon that it was strong against. That game really was more of a puzzle game, where you had to very intelligently manage your resources, or you were not going to survive the encounter. I understand wanting to pull back a bit from that, but I think they pulled back too far. In this game, it felt like it didn't matter what gun I was using, because really guns don't even play into it. If there's a big group of fodder demons, shield charge into a melee attack. If it's a big demon, wait till they use their green attack, reflect it, or you can throw your shield, which will stun them, so then you either melee them or just hit them with whatever gun you have. It never felt like you didn't want to be using either the shotgun, or they give you a bolt gun, which can one-hit kill some of the even big demons, but it just does a ton of damage and very quickly gets an upgrade that gives you ammo for it when you use your shield. So you pretty much always have ammo for this gun. It felt really unbalanced. There are some fringe cases, specifically when an enemy has energy shields where you want to use the energy gun, but that was really it as far as gun-specific uses. I also felt a lot of thematic clashing with Doom Guy himself. Giving Doom Guy the shield made him shrink as far as the power fantasy went for this game. It's so weird because he's almost like a mythological creature in this game. Every step is booming. When he jumps, a shockwave goes out when he lands. Jumping on enemies from a height will kill a ton of them in a radius. He's almost like animalistic. There's these marks on the wall that if you jump into them, he will climb up, and it's so visceral, the animation for that. And then you get into combat, and he just kind of hides behind his shield, and you run around, and the guns don't really feel like you're doing much. And then on top of this, for some reason, they removed glory kills from the game. So when you're killing these big demons, you're just essentially punching or kicking them. It looks pretty uninspired, and it's definitely noticeable, and really just makes combat feel unimpactful. There is something about finishing a fight with a big demon and showing the Doom Guy just rip them apart like he did in the previous 2 games. When that's missing, it just makes the encounter feel less impactful and less memorable. It was a really weird design choice to take that away and not really give anything back. Very occasionally, if you stun an enemy, you can get them into a stunned state where you can finish them. And if you shield charge them, I think sometimes that will do a special animation, but that should have been every time. For whatever reason, in the actual combat scenarios, you don't get the feeling of power that the Doom Guy emanates in every other aspect of this game. They put so much effort into making him intimidating and almost godlike, except for when he's actually killing demons. This is the biggest of the 3 Doom games with 22 chapters, most of those having pretty large levels to explore with lots of secrets to go find. And while it's fun to go through the levels and find all the secrets, the levels themselves could feel almost too big and empty, especially after you've cleared out all the demons. Too many of the levels required you to backtrack to get some of the secrets. You'd usually find a key later in the level and then have to go back to unlock the doors that key corresponds to. So running through empty levels for 10 minutes to clean up all the secrets just was not fun. I don't know if there's a solution other than just make the secrets accessible from the beginning so that as you go through the level, you can collect them. But some of the levels too are just real big open areas with 5 objectives kind of spread across them. So if you go in the wrong order, you are kind of hurting yourself as far as the time it'll take you to get all the secrets. The combat arenas themselves also just felt very large and empty. And that largeness I thought was a detriment. There's really not a lot of movement in this game. The main movement mechanic is the shield charge. But if you are too far away from an enemy to shield charge them, or if you charge to one and then there's a whole horde of enemies across the map also shooting at you, it could just feel a little chaotic, but not in a good way. Too often it felt like there's too big of a space with too many enemies at a distance to really account for them while still also accounting for the demons that you've brought yourself close to, leading to a lot of frustrating deaths or just damage taken during a fight. Especially when the combat focus is so much more on defensive and timing, I think it actually would have benefited them a lot to shrink down a lot of the arenas and make it a lot more close quarters. There are a few secrets actually that when you collect them, the room itself gets gated off and a handful of enemies come in to fight you. I thought these moments were some of the best when it came to the combat because it really does give you that close quarters, down and dirty, barroom brawl kind of a feeling that this combat was going for. On the story side, I guess if you liked the story in this game, you'll enjoy it. There's a ton of cutscenes. I don't understand why there's so much story in this game. This is one of those games where I just kind of check out when the cutscenes are on. You're a Doom Guy, kill demons, who are these alien guys? I don't know why we have medieval humans, though. They're wearing like old school fantasy armor, but then also they have the makers and they know who the makers are. It's not like they're visited by an alien race or something. They know who these guys are and they have technology, and even the medieval guys are like talking to each other with radios and communicators. I don't know, it just clashed. Much like everything in this game for me, a lot of things clashed and just, I didn't get it. I don't know. It felt like they were trying to do two different things that were directly opposed to one another. But, you know, if you like the story, I've heard people who are into the Doom lore are appreciating this game, so I guess if you like it, then it's good. For me, it's just like, I just want to go kill more demons. Let me kill more demons. Overall, Doom the Dark Ages is still a pretty competent shooter. While it doesn't reach the highs of the other two games in the series, it is still Doom. There is still that kind of monkey brain part of you that when the metal kicks in and when you're brutally beating these demons down, you still feel good. You're still gonna feel good. It's still a good time. I just think it's a step in the wrong direction. I don't think they needed to take Eternal and iterate further in that direction, but I think they went too far in the other direction, trying to overcorrect a bit. If there's a fourth game, I think they could really take some of the things from this game, combine it with some of the things that they did in Eternal, and essentially go get 2016 Doom again, which is still, I think, my favorite of the three, but then iterated on with some of those learnings. I think you could have a really, really amazing game. So the groundwork is there. We'll see what happens. But what do you think? Is Doom the Dark Ages the best of the Dooms? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you all with the next video.
Before the